The world of IndyCar racing has seen its fair share of racing legends, but none quite like Dan Wheldon. With multiple Indianapolis 500 wins and IndyCar titles, he lived life in the fast lane. But one fateful day, the world of motorsport would witness a horrifying tragedy. Join us as we cover the life of Dan Wheldon and haunting echoes of that IndyCar race, which changed everything. Dan Wheldon was born on June 22, 1978 in Emberton, Buckinghamshire, England. As the son of a former kart racer, Clive, and a race timekeeper, Sue, it was clear that Dan possessed a fearless spirit which was meant for racing. And this trait became even more evident when he got behind the wheel of a homemade 60cc kart at the age of 4. According to his father, he was a natural while driving, but had to wait until he turned 8 to officially compete in races because of the age restrictions. Growing up, he always looked up to his role model, Nigel Mansell, who was a Formula 1 champion as well as a renowned kart racer. Seeing him race motivated Dan to pursue speed, and he also learned the importance of technical knowledge and hands-on experience. This influence, combined with years and years of hard work, finally paid off when he won the RAC British Cadet Karting Championship 3 times from 1988 to 1990. His success in karting was consistent, and it wasn't long before he made a name for himself by winning major junior titles across Britain, as well as 1995 FIA Formula A Championship. Then at the age of 17, Dan took a significant step in his development, where he then transitioned from karts to cars, and entered the highly competitive Formula Vauxhall series. And just a year later, he finished second during junior class and even won a couple of races at big British tracks such as Brands Hatch, Silverstone, and Alton Park. By that point, he had proven that he could handle cars, race aggressively while keeping his cool on some of the UK's biggest stages. So his next decision was to transition to Formula Ford in 1997, which had long been known as a proving ground for future stars. And Dan took this challenge head-on, where he won 3 races and finished 4th overall in the championship standings, which he further improved to 3rd overall in 1998. That being said, while he had the talent, the system in Europe was still heavily dependent on the financial backing. Transitioning from Formula Ford to F3 or even Formula Renault required significant sponsorship or personal funding, and for many young drivers, including Dan, this became the biggest barrier. In 1999, taking advice from his former companion, Ralph Furman Sr., he made a pivotal decision to move to the US, where he competed in the US F2000 National Championship. And this gamble paid off in his favor as he won the title with an astonishing 6 victories and became the first British driver to win the series. That title gave him a strong foundation in the States and showed American teams that he could handle competitive pressure. From there, he stepped up to Indy Lights, which was like a main feeder into IndyCar. And by the year 2004, Dan already started looking like a future star, with multiple wins and a significant first IndyCar win at the Japan 300. The most memorable moment of his career came in 2005, when he won the Indianapolis 500 and also clinched the IndyCar Series Championship. His ability to adapt to both oval and road courses, combined with his fearless yet intelligent driving style, made him one of the most promising young drivers on the grid. And though his journey zigzagged a little bit in the following years, where he kept switching teams, he never gave up. He kept grinding, and his skills shone through in 2011 when he pulled off yet another iconic win in the Indianapolis 500. He was loved by fans, respected by rivals, and finally settled into a life that blended racing, family, and stability. However, just as it seemed the long-term future looked bright, tragedy was already lurking around the corner. On October 16, 2011, in the morning, the lobby and paddock at Las Vegas Motor Speedway were buzzing out of excitement, but not for the obvious reasons. In the weeks leading up to the season finale, IndyCar officials, particularly CEO Randy Bernard, had announced a $5 million challenge, where any non-full-time IndyCar driver who could win the race would earn an additional $5 million on top of the standard prize. The bonus was officially dubbed as the GoDaddy IndyCar Challenge, where the winning amount would split between the winning driver and a randomly selected fan through an online contest. But while this publicity stunt garnered attention, it also drastically increased the number of cars on the grid to 34, with multiple drivers having limited experience who barely knew what they were doing. And it just so happened Dan Wheldon was a free agent driver without a full-time ride in 2011, having only competed in the Indy 500 that year with Panther Racing. When organizers were unable to get an international racing driver for the challenge, Dan was offered the opportunity as a one-off entry. And since he was the star attraction of that entire weekend, the race carried a lot of media attention and sponsor activities, which made the whole thing feel like a festival rather than a standard race. His wife, Susie Wheldon, who he'd married back in 2008, was there to celebrate the occasion and spend the weekend together as a family rather than watching from home. In fact, the evening before the race on October 15th, Dan and Susie visited a tattoo parlor together and got their initials inked on their wrists as a sign of their love. According to his teammates and close friends, Dan seemed focused yet calm and was treating the race like a professional challenge instead of some wild gamble. "Thank you for the opportunity, but please don't expect me to pull any stunts like Travis Pastrana does, because I'm not into that," he said jokingly in an interview before the race. Tragically, in a cruel twist, the very thing he joked about would end up happening, but in the most devastating way imaginable. Dan had been practicing in the previous days and early that morning in his number 77 car run by Sam Schmidt Motorsport. He qualified 29th out of 34 drivers, right in line with the deal's conditions that he'd start from the back of the field. According to his engineer, the team had planned an aggressive but controlled strategy to stay low, use the draft, and work through the pack without taking unnecessary risks. And it wasn't like there weren't any warning signs. Many drivers had already expressed their concerns about the sheer number of cars and high speeds on tight tracks. Then at around 12:45 p.m. local time, the 2011 IndyCar season finale at Las Vegas Motor Speedway started as planned, with all 34 cars circling the 1.5-mile circuit. During the pace laps, Dan even acted as ABC's in-race reporter, where he chatted with the broadcast team while slowly circling the track. A few minutes into the race, the field quickly formed into a tightly packed train of cars, with the top position separated by less than a second. Dan, who had started from the last position, started making his way forward with smooth, calculated driving. And by the end of the 10th lap, he'd climbed about 10 positions. Everything seemed to be going according to their plan, and Dan had already picked up momentum. But then, something unexpected happened. The incident started on lap 11 when the leading pack became even more compressed, with everyone clustered around the front with no room to maneuver unless someone else gave way. Up front, a few cars, including Alex Tagliani, Wade Cunningham, and James Hinchcliffe, were fighting for position. In that intense moment, Wade was on the outside attempting to pass James when his left front tire brushed James's rear tire, and that tiny contact made Wade's car snap sideways, where he drifted toward the middle of the lane. He then collided with J.R. Hildebrand, launching his car into the air, while Wade slid across the track where he further crashed with Jay Howard and Townsend Bell, before finally crashing into the wall. The sudden change in momentum triggered a chain reaction where many other drivers who were trying to avoid the chaos got caught up in the situation. Dan, who was running in the 24th position at a speed of 224 miles an hour, tried to stay clear from the flying cars and debris. However, looking from his perspective, when cars directly in front spun out, they completely blocked his path. He immediately lifted off the throttle, where he dropped to about 10% power, but still hit the rear wheel of a car in front of him at around 165 miles an hour. And such a massive impact launched his car into the air, where it flew sideways for around 325 feet before rotating and slamming into the catch fence. The car struck the fence on the right side, and the steel post smashed into the car in a way that tore a deep hole through the cockpit to the pedals. The post pushed into the cockpit and hit the lower right side of Dan's helmet, which turned the crash into a fatal incident. Minutes after the chaos, the whole track turned into a full emergency scene. The crash had involved around 15 cars between Turn 1 and Turn 2, with multiple vehicles damaged, smoking, or on fire. The IndyCar safety team, as well as the Las Vegas first responders, immediately reached Dan's car to assess the situation. They carefully cut away the metal and composite around the cockpit to get to Dan, and then lifted him out on a stretcher. During the extraction, it became clear that he was in an unresponsive state, and the rescue crew didn't put him on life support which confirmed the unthinkable. He was immediately taken to the Infield Medical Center and then further airlifted to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, where he was pronounced dead on arrival at the age of 33. After the news was made public, every driver came back out and drove a 5-lap salute around the oval in memory of Dan Wheldon, with his car number 77 shown alone on the scoreboard. The official cause of death for Dan was revealed to be the blunt force trauma to the head. The impact created a non-survivable injury with a force on his head estimated to be at around 100 Gs, which is enough to shatter even bones under normal circumstances. The investigation concluded that the accident was caused by a combination of the 34-car pack at high speed. There were no external things such as mechanical or technical failure involved, and Dan was not at fault. In the months that followed, IndyCar was forced into a period of deep self-reflection, and they immediately addressed the risks that had been exposed. This resulted in the introduction of the new race car chassis for the 2012 season, which they decided to name after Dan Wheldon. On Saturday, October 22, 2011, his public funeral took place at the First Presbyterian Church of St. Petersburg. The service was attended by the thousands of mourners who all gathered there to pay their respects to one of the greatest racers in the world. And just the next day, IndyCar held a large public memorial at Conseco Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, where the drivers and fans came together to share their stories about Dan and remember him. The world of racing indeed lost a gem that day, and looking back at his life, it's safe to say that he was a man who chased his dreams with everything he had, but never lost sight of what truly mattered. Dan was without a doubt a true champion who made people welcome, who raced hard and lived with kindness. And perhaps the best way to remember him is through the words that carried him through every challenge. You have to believe in yourself. That's the only way you're going to succeed. Rest in peace,